Honourable St. James North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not going to speak for my full allotted time because I think that the Honourable Prime Minister made one of the finest speeches on CARICOM and the CARICOM project as it relates to Barbados that has ever been delivered in this Parliament. And the Honourable members who spoke on this side for St. Peter and St. James Southall also did excellent jobs. But as Immigration Minister, I think I should also speak and also bring perhaps a couple other new perspectives to the issue. This country of ours, of which we all love, Barbados has always been a leader in terms of Caribbean relations. This country has produced the one and only Premier of the West Indies Federation, in fact, the political party, which I'm a member proudly and which happens to be the government of this country. Right Excellent Sir Grantley Adams. And of course, another national hero, Right Excellent Errol Barrow, was also a leader of the Caribbean, one of the leaders of CARICOM, of course, Carifta first, 1967, and then CARICOM, 1973. Together, in fact, and we've spoken a lot about this country here within this context, together with Guyana and Trinidad and Jamaica as leaders, with Carifta, with, in fact, Antigua, the 3 Bs. Then even the former Prime Minister, Erskine Sandiford, would have been part of a CARICOM initiative and the Commission, and with the Honourables Sir Alistair McIntyre and Sridhar Ramphal initiative, and of course action plan, and then the last Barbados Labour Party Prime Minister, the Honourable Owen Arthur, of course at the forefront of the CSME, and because of that, in fact, Barbados, the leader of Barbados, Prime Minister of Barbados, is recognized as the leader of the CSME, and that's so today, sir, both in fact and in reality, with our Prime Minister, within a month of becoming Prime Minister, 5 weeks, going to Heads of Government Conference in Jamaica, early July 2018, and essentially dominating the conference. And now, of course, as CARICOM leader, I think it is for 6 months. So, sir, we reached a situation, of course, in the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, where initially there were just 5 recognized categories of skilled nationals. And even though the heads of government agreed in 2007, I think it was, to the expansion of 5, no legislation was passed in this Parliament to legalize that, even though, as the Honourable Prime Minister correctly said, under treaty CARICOM arrangements, the decision of a head of government is in fact force of law in a country. But the reality is that the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, in Article 46(2) states that member states shall establish appropriate legislative, administrative and procedural arrangements to facilitate the movement of skills within the contemplation of this article. Now, the conference recognizes that it needs to keep the provisions of that article under review in order to enlarge as appropriate the classes of persons entitled to move and work freely in the community. And hence, sir, in December 2018, there was a decision to move the category of persons from 10 to 12 with agricultural labourers, security guards. And so these are not big, highfalutin people, sir. Agricultural labour, sir, is the backbone of our economy historically and traditionally, sir, even though we have moved away from that. And I want to speak within that context, sir, because, you know, the 10 lost years between January 2008, May 2018, really, well, not only that because of words, sir, and rhetoric, sir. It was so in many ways, sir. We had a situation where we had still a reasonably thriving agricultural sector, sir. A lot because of Guyanese labor that was here. The Honourable Minister of Agriculture, the Honourable Member for St. Philip South, has been dealt a very bad hand by the last government, because those workers, among others, as has been said in here, were sent back home. As the Honourable Member for St. Peter said, 4 o'clock in the morning, department of which at this present time I have ministerial mandate over, told by the last government, sir, they didn't act on their own. They would have acted under the directives of the political class at that time, sending back these Guyanese. And what is sad about it, sir, I don't like to speak ill of the dead, sir, but what is sad about it, that the LP Prime Minister in the last decade was someone who was not even born in the Caribbean, sir. Far less to being born in Barbados, he was not born in the Caribbean, born in a developed country, northern country, came here when he was 9 years old. So I could not understand the attitude, sir, that people who look like us, sir, and we got off the slave ship in Barbados, sir, and some got off in St. Vincent, St. Lucia, all of us looking alike. Unless you were to talk, you can't differentiate us, sir. I said somebody is Guyanese, somebody is Trinidadian, sir. And then, as the Honourable Prime Minister said, sir, when you're in the developed world, sir, you're all the same anyway. And the Barbadians who live in England, and especially who lived there in the 1960s, the hard days of the 1960s, when you had leading politicians in England talking about rivers of blood, you know, rivers of the blood of foreigners and black people, sir. Barbadians, they're protected in a large measure because of Jamaicans, sir, because of the aggressiveness of the Jamaican person. And it is sad, sir, and the Cabinet of Barbados has approved a reform of the immigration citizenship policy, sir, which, with the approval of the Cabinet, I would hope to be presenting to this Parliament within the very foreseeable future, sir. And I would have a lot longer time then to expand on some of the atrocities, sir, which the Honourable Member for St. Peter started to speak about today. Because, quite frankly, I'm ashamed of the last government in terms of humanity, sir. Because after everything, sir, you have to be a human being, you know, whether you're, whatever you are in life in terms of profession, in terms of education and things. If you're not a human being, if you don't have humanity in you, you're nothing. And the kind of policies carried out by the immigration department, sir, and you know, some immigration officers resent me saying this, sir, but I repeat, sir, it was under the directive of the government of the day, sending back a Jamaican woman, for example, Jamaican women, residing in Barbados, working, no criminal record, no illegal activity, with Barbadian children, sir. Children born in Barbados for a Barbadian man. But sending back the Jamaican woman, the Guyanese woman, and putting the child in a children's home. And then you all know why we having problems, sir, with youth. I mean, that is no different from what a leader of a developed country now is doing or would like to do. No different, sir. We condemn that leader, but, you know, that happened in Barbados, sir. Luckily, in all cases that I've seen, lawyers intervened, the legal process, and stopped the deportations correctly, because that should have no part of a 21st century Barbados, and is a dark, it is a dent, sir, don't want to say dark, it is a dent in the history of Barbados in terms of our drive for solidarity. That word was used in terms of CARICOM relations. And we hope never to have that again. That is the truth. Because Barbados, as has been said, has benefited more than any other country in terms of CARICOM. And this is, people thought, you know, there's some people, some Barbarians who will tell you there's still no difference between the two parties, all the same thing. So there's tremendous philosophical difference between these two parties as it stands right now. And this is in one area. Because even now, the present leadership of the Democratic Labour Party, leadership, quote unquote, sir, because I don't know, Honourable member for St. Michael East earlier today said that he predicts the total demise of that party, and he's probably right. Right now is a mere lobby group out there keeping noises once in a while, sir. But the present leadership makes no apologies and adheres to this policy of the Democratic Labour Party government in the last decade. But Barbadians can't expect that Barbados must have a positive trade balance with other CARICOM countries. The only region in the world where we have a positive trade balance, where we export more goods and services than we bring into our country. We export more goods and services to other CARICOM countries than we bring into Barbados, sir. But expect that we can keep out movement, free movement of labor, sir. It can't work. I mean, life has to have some balance, sir. And all of us in here know that. All of us have relations, sir. You can't have it all your way one time, sir. Yeah, life is give and take. So, within that context, I am extremely happy to be supportive of this bill, sir. And, you know, it isn't, as was said, a free-for-all, sir. When you look deeply at this bill, sir, an agricultural worker, yes, can come in as a skilled national from another CARICOM country, but that agricultural worker must hold a CVQ, Caribbean Vocational Qualification, issued by a national training authority, on NVQ, sir. An NVQ defined as a national vocational qualification, also issued by a national training authority, or it must have a qualification from the Caribbean Examinations Council in the field of agriculture, or a certificate from an agency which a member state permits to issue certificates confirming that the person possesses practical experience. So it isn't that somebody could come in and say, I'm an agricultural labourer, I have the right to a skilled national certificate in Barbados, sir. It's defined. Same thing with an artisan, sir. Person who is a skilled tradesperson, craftsman or worker, and who holds the CVQ in craft and related trades, or in plant and machine operations. I'm saying this, sir, because I know tomorrow some misguided person going to be on the radio saying how we opening up Barbados to everybody to come in, sir. Not so, sir. You have to prove your qualifications. Same thing, sir, household domestic. Person who holds a CVQ or an equivalent qualification in domestic cleaning, domestic help, or domestic housekeeping. This is something, sir, where we, quite frankly, as a state, has to enhance in terms of giving our citizens the opportunity now to go out there. Jamaica has had an advantage over other CARICOM countries in this area because their CVQs in domestic training are higher or are more established than ours, sir. So, sir, these are the ambits, the borders we have, and of course there's still the security issue, sir, that we will make sure that those who come comply or at least pass the security test, sir. So there's still the prohibited list of persons who offend public morality, persons who have been convicted of drug trafficking, for example, and sabotage and those kind of offences, sir. They are maintained, sir. But as the Honourable Prime Minister said, the bureaucracy which was put on, especially in those 10 lost years, to hinder skilled nationals coming to Barbados has been removed by this government. Because the last government, sir, had how you had to get a police certificate of character from countries, every country you lived in from the time you were 16 or 18, sir. So, for 6 months. I can't remember, sir, every country I lived in for more than 6 months, sir. I mean, when I was young, I was about the place, sir, studying, you know. And we now restricted that where you have to get the police certificate of character, sir, it would only be for a country that you've lived in for more than 6 months and for the last 3 years, sir, within the last 3 years. And police certificate of character, sir, quite frankly, sir, and you know, sir, you're a social worker, you're a lawyer, sir, a humbug, you know, that 85% of the jobs in Barbados require police certificate of character, sir. It's something that the Honourable Attorney General has committed to looking at, sir, and I will certainly support him in that, sir, because it hinders people from poor homes, sir, who have been denied opportunities that others have had. So this is the kind of regime that we've put in, sir. The Article 46.4 that I spoke about envisages, in fact, the widening of these categories from the present 12, sir, where there may very well one day be full freedom of movement, sir, for people who have skills and ability and capacity to get jobs, sir. But this is also two-way, because we've had a traditional advantage in terms of our educational system, sir, and we have to be able as well to move to other countries. And we have to remember that all of this skilled national regime is also within the context of the right of establishment, where a CARICOM national can go and establish a business, a company, enterprise in another Caribbean country. And we have to, and we will, sir, put our citizens in the position where they can even more do that, sir, because we will reform our educational system and make our students more entrepreneurial, more business class. We spoke, sir, in the Covenant of Hope on that issue, sir, creating world-class citizens who are excellent, who can live anywhere in the world, sir, and all of that speaks towards the rights of establishment and skilled nationals, sir, which our country must produce to find our way in the world and to improve our socio-economic status, sir. And the Honourable Member, the Leader of the Opposition, spoke on the issue of services, sir, but seemed to be forgetting in a way about this right of establishment, because right of establishment, sir, also speaks in addition to goods, but services as well. And the legislative platform is there, but yes, admittedly, we have to now seek to enable our citizens to take a greater advantage of that legislative platform. And the Prime Minister, Honourable Prime Minister, is right, sir, that it would be great if every teenager or every Barbadian, at least by the time they reach teenage years, has the opportunity to travel and see another country, sir, because part of the xenophobia, that's the word that has been used, that is among some Barbadians still, is because of that. They don't know the outside world and believe that the world, they know Barbados is the whole world, and it is, and so on. And it's unfortunate that people who should know better, sir, people who are in the leadership of the last government, the present leadership of the Democratic Labour Party, who ought to know better, sir, want to continue to fuel those kind of fears among our people, sir. But we, sir, in this government, going to confront it head on, sir. In the elections in 2008, sir, this party, and I'm not afraid to say it, lost the ball in that you had the Democratic Labour Party leadership going and fuel fears among Barbadians about how Guyanese here and 30,000 and they come to take over your jobs, sir. We can confront the arguments head on and go toe-to-toe with them, sir. Toe-to-toe, because it is wrong and they ought to know better, sir. In 2007, the third term of the Barbados Labour Party reign of office, last time we were in office, sir, with all these people that the other side said were here illegally and working, sir, unemployment rate in Barbados was at its lowest ever since the abolition of slavery, sir. 6.7%, lowest ever. Because, as the Honourable Member for St. James South, among others, says regularly, sir, we can't build a capable economy that is going to progress and sustain and build and move every year on a small population, sir. Our population has been declining, has declined in the last few years under the Democratic Labour Party with all their policies, sir. And it is not by chance, sir, that the economy went down tremendously in those years, sir, because other countries in the Caribbean were still able to maintain some level of growth. Grenada was still growing at 3.9%. Antigua still growing 5%, sir. Barbados declining all the time because the population too small, sir. And therefore, this is another platform to try to grow our population. Sir, the statistics show that there were only about 3,000 persons registering as skilled nationals in Barbados since the Treaty of Chaguaramas brought the concept into being in 2005, certainly between 2005 and early last year, sir, 3,000. So we have to grow. And these are people, sir, who will live in Barbados, will pay taxes, sir, income tax, VAT, corporation tax, if they set up business, sir, and ease the burden of taxation among the Barbadians who live here, sir. And it is only right, as was said earlier in this debate, that if they come to live, that their spouses must be able to come to live and to be able to work without a work permit. So we removed that hindrance last year, the hindrance of having to have a work permit. This government, sir, this parliament, under this government, liberalized and equalized the education, sir, and the health care, the ability to access education free once they were their children, the children of CARICOM skilled nationals, and once they were 16 or under, because, sir, they have a right to go to school just like any other Barbadian, because if they don't go to school, and you're putting money on them to go to school, sir, they're now an avenue of problems in the next couple of years, and we can't afford that, sir. Better that we take off the $350 a term now than to have to spend $32,000 for somebody every year up in Dodge. And the contingent rights, sir, that go with the whole process, sir. Granted that CARICOM still has overcome totally the challenge of the social security system, sir. The ability to transfer your social security that you paid in one country to another country. I don't think that that is as easily facilitated as it ought to be, and it's something that I'm sure that the heads will look at, sir. I know, again, you're going to hear arguments on social media, sir, fake social media from tomorrow, that we doing this, sir, and other Caribbean countries not doing that, sir. The issue of reciprocity is before the Caribbean Court of Justice as we speak, sir, in terms of, I think it is Antigua, you know, whether countries that allow in, let's say, an agricultural worker, must allow in an agricultural worker from every CARICOM country, where a CARICOM country may not sign on now to the extension of the agricultural worker or security guard, sir. The Caribbean Court of Justice will decide, sir. That's our highest court, and what they say is the law on this issue, sir. But that doesn't stop us. We know that this country, Barbados, has benefited more than any other country from the Caribbean CARICOM enterprise, sir. We have always, except for those last 10 years, rightfully taken the place of leader of the Caribbean, sir, historically, from before independence. And as the Honourable Prime Minister said, a lot of our leaders in various fields went and started out as teachers, for example, in the OECS, what are now the OECS countries, before coming back here to work. We could speak about, as the Honourable Leader of the Opposition did, about the absence of supranational body. Sure, Barbados would love. I'm sure that we would sign on to the supranational body that would be able to adjudicate alleged infringes of the treaty, the obligations of member states under the Treaty of Chaguaramas, the revised treaty. But decisions are taken unanimously, sir, and therefore there's the absence. Hopefully one day the other countries will come to Christian understanding and realize that everyone has an obligation to observe the documents and the international agreements, regional agreements that they have signed. Sir, but I certainly don't agree with the Honourable Leader of the Opposition about lack of opportunity within this concept for our young people, sir, that they all have the opportunity to build their enterprises, sir, and we will help them in terms of our educational reform, in terms of the Ministry of Youth, what the Ministry of Youth is doing to enable our young people to take advantage of this whole regime, sir. She said, sir, I'm happy to be part of this, sir, and look forward to the deepening of our CARICOM relations with our neighbours. I'm obliged to you, sir.